Good afternoon. My name is Bo Durr. This is my darling bride, Regina. My mother always says everything happens for a reason. I grew up hearing that. And in the winter of '92, when I was going through a tough divorce, I wondered how that would play out when I got home to my rented beach house in Sargent Beach. And it was nothing but ashes that night when I got home. Yeah, I wondered how Mother's doctrine would play out on this situation. Well, it took me about a week. Found another rent house in Surfside Beach, Texas. And, this time I figured maybe I should have insurance for a change. So I found finally an agency, called around there in Lake Jackson, sent her a check and a picture of the rented beach house. And I was a little bit better covered if another situation came up. The early summer of '92, my divorce was final. So I settled into my regimen of working and having my two young daughters on the weekends and every Wednesday night for supper, and working and working. Well, by the end of September, I heard through the grapevine that maybe I should stop by that insurance company and turn in a payment in person for a change instead of through the mail. I finally got up the nerve to do that, and when I called for my agent to come out, when this little lady walked out in that reception area, she knocked my socks off. I was speechless. Wow. So thereafter, I found more and more excuses to call her, and this conversation would eventually drift to other topics, and the conversations went well. She was easy to talk to. She was pleasant, nice, and I was falling. So finally, about a month later, when I finally got up the nerve to ask her out, when she accepted, you're looking at a 41-year-old teenager bouncing off the walls. That really got me going. So we dated through the months, and things really went well. Her 5-year-old daughter got along well with my 2-year-old and my 6-year-old daughters, and she was quite a lovely angel. So suddenly, my mother's saying about everything happens for a reason, that burned down beach house that was a total loss, that I lost everything, I met Regina, and that was well worth it. That was worth it. So around comes Easter, and I took my oldest daughter, Bogey, to Houston. I got her to help me pick out a pave wedding band for Regina, and I wrote a little poem that goes like this. Enamored is the term, I think, for what we seem to be. I know this thing is wonderful between you and me. This thing is much, it seems this thing is much beyond my sense of self-control. This way I think and feel for you from deep within my soul. I know to have you close beside and in my arms is sweet. My love, you are my heart's desire. My love for you complete. So let's enjoy this love we share and savor life so sweet. And worry not what morrow brings till we the morrow meet. If then we find we're still this way, so smitten with our love, then us as family evermore is what I'm thinking of. I took that little poem and I took the new wedding band and I wrapped it up with the poem and I put it in a small Easter egg and put that into a slightly larger plastic egg, and well, you get the idea. The next morning, after the girls had their Easter egg hunt, Bogey told Regina to look up in that high-hanging plant. There might be something for her. And when Regina finally opened that smallest Easter egg and saw that ring, well, her face lit up. And then when she read the poem, there were some waterworks. Looked like a pretty good reception, so I dropped to my knee and I proposed. And she made me the happiest man alive when she accepted. The girls cheered, we all hugged, and it was really cool. So, planned a wedding coming up in the late part of July. She had everything set up, dresses for the girls, and invitations were made up, and so forth. And then Regina had a seizure in June, early June. And when she told me about it, it had scared her and her daughter pretty badly that night. So her parents and I convinced her to go to her doctor. She went. He did an MRI as a matter of procedure. A couple of days later, she paged me. And I went straight to her side, and she was very upset. The doctor told her she had a massive brain tumor. And the next day, we went to see a specialist in Houston. They're at the Methodist Neurological Center. And we brought the MRI film with us. The doctor said there was a massive tumor in her left frontal lobe. It seemed to be operable, but it needed to come out of there as soon as possible. Regina asked him about our wedding the next month. Couldn't the surgery wait till after the wedding? And he said, no, this was life-threatening. It had to come out as soon as possible. He said that if she survived the surgery, she could be blinded, she could be paralyzed, she might lose her sense or power of speech. That worry about the wedding later, let's get the surgery taken care of and get that tumor out of there. He told us that his office would be contacting us with a surgery date. And needless to say, we left his office in shock. As we drove back to the coast, I told Regina that she means everything to me. I love her. I'm here for you. We're going to get through this together. And we're going to lick this thing. But who needs a big wedding? I said, let's elope. Let's just run off. Let's go to the hill country. Let's leave this stuff behind us for a few days. We'll get married along the way and deal with it when we get back. So we did just that. By the time we got to Angleton, we stopped at the courthouse in town, picked up a marriage license, packed, and took off. Went through Sabinal, Leakey, Luckenbach, swung back through Cameron, Texas, my hometown, and Ms. A.J. von Rosenberg had her preacher handy to perform the services. My mother had called her, and we got married. And I got to tell you, I'd said the vows before, but I forgot about one particular passage. I forgot until the preacher asked me to repeat, "Till death do we part." I don't know how I kept my composure. My guts were ripping apart. But at the same time, I was happy too, so we made it through that, and Mr. and Mrs. Baudur returned to the coast the next day. And as we got to her parents' house, there was a message waiting for us. Her surgery was going to be in 3 days. 3 of the longest days. Surpassed in length by only the hours and hours and hours it took for her surgery. But things went well. Dr. Jerry Bob wheeled her out in a gurney, and to prove that things went well, he asked her to say her name. And even though we'd only been married for 4 days, and after all that brain surgery and all that she had been through, she was able to say Regina Durr. That was magic to my ears. So, with the good Lord willing and our strong love, she pulled through it. She's tough. She whooped the cancer between the Methodist Neurological folks and MD Anderson. They did a fine job of saving my baby's life. She whooped it all, and at this time I'd like to nominate my darling bride, Regina. I'd like to nominate her as a recipient of your vote. After all these years, 16 years of wedded bliss, we're still as in love now as we ever were back when we first met. After all this, it sure would be nice with this contest and with your vote if she would finally get a reason to wear for all that she's been through. That would be cool. So thank you for your time. I'm sorry this kind of ran long. Story of my life.